Good evening and welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. My name is FPL Nacho and this is the series where we cover potential FPL price changes to help you build that essential team value. Now, of course, at the time of recording, this is in the middle of the double game week 22. I hope you guys have had a decent start to game week 22. But in this video, we're going to be looking at the fixtures coming up. Obviously, the landscape is changing daily based on postponed games, but we'll look at what we are seeing right now and certain players that I think should be on everybody's radar beyond game week 23 and onwards. So guys, if you want to support the channel, make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because we have daily videos dropping. And as always, all the information is taken from fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. So if you want to win those mini leagues or improve that overall rank, make sure you head over to fantasyfootballfix.com. Links are in the bio. So without further ado, guys, let's get started. Okay guys, before we touch on these fixtures that we have behind me on our Fantasy Football Fix Fixture Analyzer, I just want to quickly touch on the players that are potentially rising and falling in price tonight. And as you can see with the graphics around me, a bit more in-depth detail on daily transfers in, transfers out, etc. So one potential price riser tonight, and that is going to be Watford's Dennis. Now, at the time of recording, there is a potential chance that their second game week fixture against Burnley could be postponed, which could be absolutely killer for those managers that did bring in the likes of Dennis and King for a hit or a free transfer just to target that double game week. So I really do feel for those managers. But there is a chance that he might be rising in price tonight, so you might get a little bit of value on him. But again, that's not going to replace the potential postponed game that might come in game week 22. And so a few potential price fallers tonight, and a lot of these are going to be players that are out injured or at AFCON. And they're going to include Callum Wilson at Newcastle, Cornet, obviously at AFCON right now, someone I really think should be in everybody's watch list once he does return, because Burnley have so many games to rearrange. They're going to have multiple double game weeks, and Cornet is going to be a brilliant option in those game weeks. But of course, we will do some videos on those. Tony at Brentford, just not really offering the value right now. And Son with that hamstring injury, we don't know a return date right now. He is somebody else who is potentially falling in price tonight. So that's a quick roundup, guys. Again, all the information is around me on the graphics here. Now, as I mentioned, I want to quickly look at the fixture analyzer going between game weeks 23 and game weeks 28. So over the next 6 game weeks. And again, it is worth noting that the FPL landscape is changing daily. We've seen the postponement potentially happening with the Burnley game. We saw the North London derby get cancelled. This fixture analyzer is going to be outdated very quickly. But again, we can only judge on what we know right now. And at the time of recording, Aston Villa have the best fixtures over the next 6 game weeks. And we are expecting them to potentially have a double game week dropped in amongst it, which is only going to heighten their value. And I want to quickly touch on some of these teams and probably the top 3 assets that I would target. Now, with the fixtures, Everton, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, these are like brilliant games for Aston Villa assets from both a defensive and an attacking perspective. There could be a new manager bounce at Everton, but I don't think that's enough to not be tempted by Aston Villa assets. Defensively, Digne and Matty Cash look like brilliant options. Very similar price range. Digne probably has a bit more competition, obviously, with Target, but I would expect Digne to get the lion's share of the minutes over these 6 fixtures. That's why they brought him into the side. Matty Cash, a bit more of a guaranteed minutes, so I probably would just favour that side if you're looking for a defensive option at Aston Villa. Midfield-wise, I think Ramsey is still the go-to pick. Now, Coutinho is picking up a lot of the plaudits right now off the back of the goal and assist in game week 22 so far, but I think at the price point of Ramsey and the game time that you're seeing from him, he's a very difficult asset to look past. I think Ramsey would be top of the list for midfielders right now if I had to go for an Aston Villa one. It just opens up so much more funds available in your squad. And in the front line, it has to be Ollie Watkins. I think this should be somebody who's at the top of everybody's watch list right now. Guaranteed minutes. He works so hard for the team that I think that's what's going to favour him over Danny Ings over these next 6 game weeks. I think if I had to target one Aston Villa asset right now at the time of recording, it would be Watkins for those FPL teams. Now, Man City, no surprises, they are the second best for fixtures. Any team they play is a great fixture for them in the form that they are in. And looking at the next 3 with Southampton, Brentford and Norwich, I really do think we need some ownership in that Man City attack. Now, the big issue right now, and we always know it, is Pep Guardiola's managing minutes of players. And right now, I think if you're sat there with Bernardo Silva, with a Foden, with a Gundogan, I really think you just stick and hold longer term over this period. Now, again, if you're maybe sat with Gundogan, the minutes have been a bit rotated recently. I probably can understand you maybe going to the likes of Phil Foden because his explosiveness is on par with Gundogan and his minutes are probably a little bit more secure. Again, Kevin De Bruyne, absolutely top of the list for the Man City midfielders, but can you justify those funds for him? I just don't know whether the team structure is in place for a player like that. Now, the one that I really do like, and we've seen Man City's defence do it time and time again, is Laporte. A lot of managers right now have Cancelo, but I think a double up with the Man City defence and Laporte showing his game time is back like it was 2 seasons ago, and he always is an attacking the threat with 2 goals and 2 assists so far this season. I really do like Laporte as a bit of a cheaper option to go alongside Cancelo over this period. I think that's definitely someone you should have in your considerations. Now, last, we want to talk about Man United. Looking at the fixtures coming up, I believe that they probably look better on paper than they actually are going to be. West Ham at home. West Ham are going to be looking for a little bit of revenge off the back of that upset against Leeds. They're going to be looking to pick up points against Man United. Burnley away, always a tricky game. And then teams like Southampton and Leeds are going to pose threats, but from an attacking perspective, looking good. Now, the big question right now is those managers who did bring in Bruno Fernandes, congratulations, by the way. It's going to be very difficult to come off Bruno Fernandes to go to Mo Salah in game week 24. Burnley away, again, I mentioned it's going to be a tough game for him, but then Southampton, Leeds, Watford, brilliant games for someone like Bruno Fernandes. Liverpool, Salah on the other hand, Leicester, Burnley, Norwich, equally great games. I would do the sideways move to Salah, but I can understand why managers might want to go for a differential over these next 3 and hold with Bruno Fernandes. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens over that period. But defensively, can't really recommend anyone at Man United as we speak. Now, last we want to touch on, West Ham. I think if you are right now in a spot where you have Bowen and Antonio, looking at the fixtures coming up, I think they're still a solid hold. I've mentioned about Watkins. If double game weeks drop for Aston Villa, I think Antonio to Watkins is a really nice sideways move just because of the FPL ceiling being slightly higher due to those minutes being increased over a double. But otherwise, I think they're a really nice hold over this period, in particular Bowen. And from a defensive perspective, I think you sell. If you're a guy who brought in Craig Dawson, I just think with what we're seeing right now at West Ham, the loss of Zuma and Agbona long term is just really hindering this team. I would sell the defensive assets right now. Last up, Leeds. This is a team who are struggling obviously with injuries, but have a gem in their side in Rafinha. We saw him absolutely explode against West Ham. An assist is all he had, but it seemed like he should have had so much more. And I really do think that he is somebody who should be on everybody's radar. Newcastle at home is a brilliant fixture for him to bring into your sides. And I think it's an easy hold over these 6 game weeks. He's going to tick over really, really nicely in those teams. So it's a quick wrap up of the fixtures, guys. Some teams who I really think you should target and some transfers in your side. Let's have a quick deep dive on some particular players and see whether you should be buying them. Okay, guys, so to finish up the video, I've brought up the Fantasy Football Fix comparison matrix just to compare some of the players that I mentioned in that fixture analyzer previously. Now, I've brought up Ramsey and Coutinho of Aston Villa, Rafinha of Leeds, Bowen of West Ham, and Man City's Foden. Now, it's worth mentioning, as I touched on previously, Man City's Kevin De Bruyne would be my go-to midfielder. And I do think he offers an amazing differential over the next 6 game weeks because his underlying stats right now have been very, very good in the Man City team, back in confidence. And if you're in a position right now where you have funds available, you're currently sat on Son and you missed out on the Bruno brace in game week 22 in that first fixture, I think a nice sideways move to Kevin De Bruyne could be an amazing alternative to Bruno Fernandes over the coming game weeks. And you might even be able to battle him against Salah for a few game weeks until naturally going to give in to temptation and go to Salah. But I think Kevin De Bruyne should be on everybody's lips. But I want to bring up players of similar price ranges. And firstly, I have filtered it from game weeks 1 to 22. So Coutinho, unfortunately, is really hard to judge right now just because he's only played 22 minutes. Main reason I've dropped him in the conversation here is because of his projected points over the next 5 game weeks. You can see that under the players' names. Ramsey projected to score 12.3, Coutinho 14.9. So while we can't compare Ramsey versus Coutinho based on previous data, we can look ahead to their projected points, and Coutinho is coming out on top. Now, the big thing for me here is the 7 million price range. I've discussed it previously. At 4.6 million and only about 2.5 points between them in projected points, I still think Ramsey is the go-to move in your fantasy team. Yes, Coutinho could explode and become an essential asset, but at the time of recording right now, I just don't think necessarily the risk is worth taking as we speak. I think Ramsey is doing brilliant right now. When we look at the underlying stats, 55 FPL points for a 4.5 million asset is brilliant, considering he wasn't necessarily a first name on the sheet at the start of the season. 3 goals, 1 FPL assist, 19 shots, 2 big chances created is something that's really, really impressive to see from a 4.5 million asset. When we compare that to someone like Phil Foden on the far right there, he's had less shots, but not necessarily in a team that has more shots than Man City. So I really like what I'm seeing from Ramsey at a 4.6 million asset. And while the natural temptation is to go for someone like Coutinho, I just think Ramsey offers a little bit more on your side and frees up more funds to spread elsewhere, especially if you're looking like you can't afford Salah back in your team later down the line. Now, the big thing here for me is Rafinha. Now, we touched on Leeds' fixtures going forward, not necessarily being better than the likes of West Ham's or Man City's, but you can see that with the projected points, 24 projected points over that period is beating the likes of Phil Foden, the Coutinhos, the Ramseys, and only Bowen's slightly ahead on 25.1, of course, in brilliant form right now, but 0.3 million more expensive than Rafinha. And when we look at Rafinha so far this season, 8 goals in comparison to Bowen's 6, but the FPL assists for Bowen is unbelievable with 12 in comparison to Rafinha's 2. And when we come down here in terms of shots, 56 shots for Rafinha in comparison to Bowen's 55. Very, very similar here in terms of the big chances created as well. So what I really do like here is, although Bowen is going to be hugely owned in a lot of managers' teams, I think Rafinha offers a really nice alternative to Bowen or to go alongside him. At their price points, only about 13.2 million you have to spend in your squads to have these two in there. I think over the long term, over the next 6 fixtures, are going to be really nice holds in your team. And while the likes of Phil Foden are going to be also really attractive because of the Man City assets, I think the partnership of these two, with the guaranteed minutes, the fixtures coming up, the talismanic sort of role that they're taking up in their teams, could be the way to go right now, rather than targeting the rotational Man City midfield as we speak. So Jacob Ramsey as a cheap alternative in your midfield, and then a duo of Rafinha and Bowen is something that I'm eyeing up, and I really recommend managers checking out over the next 6 game weeks. Right guys, that's going to wrap up today's Fantasy Football Fix price change predictions video. Again, while we're recording, I'm no doubt that there is going to be fixture announcements that's going to make this redundant, but we can only deal with what we have in front of us, and hopefully that, with looking at the landscape going forward, that's provided a little bit of information on which players to target going forward. So if you did enjoy the video, guys, make sure you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell with daily videos dropping. And with the FPL world being absolutely carnage right now, you don't want to miss a thing. And as always, make sure you check out fantasyfootballfix.com, the leading FPL platform. All the links are in the bio. And make sure you just upload your squad for free, get access to all the free tools available. And while you're there, make sure you check out the premium membership. It's something that I use and I thoroughly recommend you guys checking out. So I'll see you guys in the next video. We have another video dropping tomorrow from FPL Raptor. You don't want to be missing that one. It is an absolute stormer. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Cheers.